We're going to debug the program now to find out what the issue is. I know that when I run my program, this is fine, valid, while not valid, try and get the word, convert it to lower case. Really, it's from this position onwards that I want to check what's happening. So I'm going to set a breakpoint at this place. Now, different languages have different ways of doing this. This is just Python specific. So for the exam, you just need to know what a breakpoint is, that you can set them or you can clear them, and roughly what they do. How it's done in a language is not really tested in the exam, so you won't be asked how you set a breakpoint, you'll just be asked why. So I'm going to set a breakpoint, and it's gone yellow. Now the idea behind a breakpoint is that is where I want my program to stop. I'm going to run my program and it's going to run all the way up until this yellow line, then it's going to stop, and then I can examine what happens with these variables. Now to do that I need to run my program, and in Python I need to turn my shell into debug mode. At the moment it's in programming mode, and notice we've got a menu up here with debug, so I can turn my debugger on. And what I want to do if I'm in Python is make sure I've got a tick in the source box. If I don't do that, it will debug and tell me everything, but it won't show me the line of code. So this is telling me where the program is, and you'll see that in a minute in the source. If I don't include this, it won't show me in here. So I've turned my debugger on. I've made sure I can see the source. So I'm going to go back to my main program and I'm going to run it. Now, when I run it, it starts at this line of code here. My name equals get word. That's the first line of code. And the program will run that and it will ask me to enter something. Now, I'm mentioning that because if you run your program, you might not see anything happen. But really, it will appear in the shell here, please enter your name. So how do we do this? So I need to run my program as normal. Now, although it's got a grey line here, it has skipped over this grey line, or will skip over this grey line and come down to this line. So I need to say go, run. And you notice in the shell, it's come down to here and it said, please enter your name. And it's waiting. So I'm going to type in a single character because that seemed to be the issue, and press enter. And now my debugger is working. So it's got my name, and in fact it's jumped into this function get word with message, and it's told me that the message is please enter your name. It's run over this comment, it's run this line, it's in this piece of programming here, try word equals raw input message. So word is asking the user for a word, and we've typed it in, and we see down here that word is the @ symbol. Then it's converted it to lowercase. Well, there's no lowercase at, but temp is the @ symbol. And then we have run into this line of code, and my program has stopped at this point. I need to get that little window back. My program has stopped at this point. Now I've got two options. I can either single step over my code, or I can click on over. In other words, jump over this line, execute it, but jump over it and go down to the next one. If I single step it, it will go into all the code for range. So it'll open up another file and take me through range and all sorts of things like that, which I don't want. So I want to jump over this line. So I'm going to click on over so I can get to the next line. And here's the next line it ran. It said valid equals true. So it didn't run any of these lines. It didn't do that line, didn't print. Didn't do that line, didn't do that line, didn't do that line. It just jumped. So it did not go into this counting loop. So why? So let's think about the problem that we've got. Well, I haven't got index down here. It never ran this line of code. And the reason is not very obvious, but I've mentioned it time and time and time again, and I've just fallen foul of it. I've got a one-off error. So in my program, I have got this, length of temp -1. So what's happening here, the length of temp is 1, take away 1 is 0. And that should be good. I should be able to use 0, but that is what is stopping this loop working. So if I adjust this, I need to stop the program. So if I quit, let's stop the program. I can come back in, edit my value there, taken that -1 out. So now when I run this, I should get a value of index down here. And hopefully it will run through the rest of the loop. But because I've done -1, I'm going to have to be careful that it does read the whole of the word that I type in. So let's go through that process again. Let's rerun, because I stopped my program, I quit. So let's rerun the program. Run go, so that the program works. Now it should be waiting for me to enter something. I'm going to do the same thing. My @ symbol, press enter, and my program has now stopped at this line, so I can start investigating what's going on. Last time I did it, I pressed over and it jumped straight down to this valid equals true. I'm going to press over now, and it's gone inside the loop. And now I've got a value for index, and index is 0. So that was my error. I made a one-off error. So everything should be fine now. So let me just complete a couple of things. Let's go over that. So it's going to print out the value of all.text. Nothing appears down here. This is my view of the variables, but I should have the value here, 64. So run the next line of code, over, and it's jumped down to here. So it found that 64 was less than 97. So it says raise an exception, you have an invalid character, over. And where's that gone? Doesn't tell me anything. Over. And it's jumped down to the exception. Over, it should now print this message. Over, let's take a look at what it's done. An error has happened, please re-enter your choice, and it's gone back through my loop. So I think I found the issue. So it was a one-off error. We need to go back now to our tests and make sure that our tests work. So I'm going to stop this. Okay, so that has sort of quit the debugger. I am going to clear my breakpoint because I don't want the program to stop. I now want to run it. I'm going to leave this line of code in just to see what's happening. When I'm satisfied, I'll put my program back together. So let me run the program. So this was the character that failed previously. Press enter now. It failed, in as much as it worked, now it's actually failed. So I'm going to try the other one that I used, which was the bracket, and okay, that's fine. It's not allowed these two characters. So I've kind of solved that problem. But let's type in Fred again. Let's make sure that that works. And it's printed out Fred at the bottom, but it's also given me these. So it was useful keeping this line of code in to see this happen. So it gave me 102, 114, 101, 100 for the ASCII values for the characters of Fred. So everything's fine. I still have the issue. I didn't check if I entered nothing at all. Please enter your name. Just press enter. Oops, that's Python for you, and it worked. So I've still got this issue that if I press enter, it's okay with that, and it shouldn't be. I don't want to have a blank string. So let me stop the program. I can now get rid of this line because I don't need it for testing anymore. In fact, I don't need these two lines because we've proven it works without those. So if I put in here or temp, well actually let's do word, so it might not convert enter to a lowercase, so I'm going to stick with word. This is a hack, or word is equal to the empty string, then we're going to have an error. So let's run my module again. And let's try that one. Just press enter. And it still worked. It didn't pick that up. So I've got an issue with just having an empty string. So one way that I could fix it, which again is a little bit of a hack, is check it before I do this line of code. So I could, if word is equal to the empty string, then, oops, too many those, then I just need to pull this line, create an error. So it won't run, and then it will jump down to this line, then it will try the loop over again. So let's see if that works. There we go, just pressing enter now does the trick. So that's solved our problem. That was really, really hard. That comes with experience. Knowing what you can and what you can't do is an experience thing. But you've seen debugging work. You've seen that we can set a breakpoint, we can clear a breakpoint, we can single step a program, we can jump over certain parts of the program. And we've seen testing. We've tested with valid words. We've tested with characters that are just one-off. So we looked at 96 and we looked at 1, 2, 3, those characters to see if that works. So we checked the endpoints and the one beyond the endpoint. So we checked 97 and we checked 96. We checked 1, 2, 2 and we checked 1, 2, 3. So that was the testing. Very important. That's why you have a test plan in your project. We had a one-off error, which would that was the whole reason for the program not working, but we fixed it. But we also had to include a hack if the person just pressed enter. But what we have now is a very sound piece of programming that will allow us to enter a word. Now, it's not going to check the validity of the word. I mean, so if you enter something nonsensical, that's going to be fine. So let me just run that and show you what I mean. So if I just type a load of letters, as long as there's no characters, no spaces or anything else like that, it is going to accept that, and that is nonsensical. There we go. But that's okay. To actually prevent that happening, we'd need to do a lot more coding, and we'd probably need a dictionary file that we look into to see if the word exists. That is far too much for what we're doing. We're just going to accept that as is, and hopefully the way we do our program, when we read our file will not contain silly items like this, and we'll be fine. Although, if I let you add your own words to the file, you may add something silly to the file, but we'll have to accept whatever you do. The testing is well beyond the level of this course. So far, everything we've done is not only part of the project, it's part of the exam. The only thing is this line of code here, raise exception. That is the only thing that is not going to appear in your exam. Everything else could. So it'll pay dividends if you go over this and try to understand what's going on. So in the next video, what we'll do, now that we've got a working function and it's fairly sound, we'll start applying it for our main program. I think what we'll do is add words to the file. We need to start looking at the menu system that we had, wherever that is. Anagram3. We need to start putting our functions in. Well, actually, I did say that we were going to use these files separately before we put them into here. So we'll go over that, and we will add a word to a file, because that should be fairly simple, and again a bit of a reminder on how to play with files. So we'll do that in the next video.